What up, everybody? We are live now.
Hey.
What's going on? We're live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Like and share this feed. We're going live, and this is episode 96. We're live on Instagram now, live on Facebook, live on YouTube. Like and share this feed. Got my best friend out here with us on this one. We got the little denim and blue matching going on.
Yes.
Like and share this feed. Like and share this feed. All right, guys. The topic for this week. We've been dealing with purpose for the whole month. It's been a really super dope experience because I think sometimes we got to start back from the basics and really identifying your purpose, getting clarity of your purpose. And today we are talking about living purposefully every day. All right. So before we get into the topic, let's do our praise report, our weekly praise report, because we got to start off with that. So let's start with Halima. Halima, so what has been something that's been dope this week? Something about manifestation, something that's been amazing. Tell us something that's been, what's going on with you?
I am so excited. Partially of the reason why I'm here today is because we have been blessed with such an amazing opportunity to be able to open an event space. And I'm so excited to actually be on the ground, be on the soil, go by the space and see it in live and in color, because I live in Chicago. So I'm doing a lot of things remote and virtually, but actually to be in the energy is amazing. It's amazing.
Oh, that's really dope. Okay, so yeah, we're about to talk about that next. All right, so Natalie, what's been something dope or exciting going on with you this week that we could share with our whole praise report? What's up?
So oh my gosh, I've been sick since Saturday, and it's been rough. However, because I have the processes and things in place, I've been showing up in my business like I'm not even sick. I think some people think I'm playing when I say I feel good. And on top of that, I was able to get 3 landing pages done in 72 hours. And this has caused me to streamline my business, where people can just literally go to the first page, Big in Business and Life, and click the links to get to the other things that I wanted. I've been wanting that clear path from when people enter into my space, and then how they, are how they are moved along in that client journey to get to what they need when they're building out their business.
That's really dope. I think that's so important, because I think the landing page, people don't realize that having something that's standard for people to see is so important. For example, I'm glad that my friend turned her camera around, because she's on live too, so I could be in the video too. Because I was feeling a little slighted that I was out her screen. She was showing on her. Can you slide over, please? Can you slide over?
I'm still getting used to this whole social media thing. I'm old school. I'm sorry, friend.
And I think too, I share with I think a big thing for me this week, and it's kind of going with our topic. I was talking to my friend Derry about it, where we've been really kind of making sure we live purposely every day. For example, is one thing we've talked about too is managing our time. So for example, is when you come from like working all the time in corporate, you're used to being on somebody else's schedule. It may be annoying, but to be on their time clock. And so now when you're being an entrepreneur, you don't necessarily have a time clock. It's really just like, oh, let me do this today. When it's no, I got to be strategic about every hour. Even like last week, we made like 3 days to chance to go work out, to, clear our minds, talk about business. So the good part about that is we're really kind of just reevaluating different things in our life, because we want to make sure that we're not only talking about purpose, but we're living purpose. There's a lot of times people are great at talking about stuff, but they don't walk the walk. I think that there's a part that people talk about action speaks louder than words. But the thing is, if my word is my bond should always match my actions. Mm-hmm. So I know that I'm bonded to my words, but I wish I'm living it out, because I can't be talking to you guys about purpose and I'm not being purposeful in my own time. So I think that's the part about being an educator, being a teacher, has always taught me you have to always practice what you preach, right? And getting into that topic of living purposely every day, guys, don't forget to like and share this feed. We want to really talk about the first thing is daily habits for purposeful living. So when you are starting to be more purposeful and you get clarity of your vision and your goal, there are certain things that start happening. The first thing is you have to make daily routines that matter. If you've been watching this for a while, we always talk about it took a while for us to start making our bed up every day. Like that's the first intentional goal, was I want to leave the house with my bed made, because I want to accomplish goals every day. So it's important that even the day before, the Sunday before the week, the month, you are intentional about what you do every single day, because you want to make sure that intentionality and purpose opportunities happens when you're making a routine. The thing about the event space, I've been trying to open it for a while, but what made it really happen was the purposefulness of actually wanting to open something up, because I knew I had to pivot to go to the next level from leaving a job. I had to know I need something to replace my income, something I always did. But guess what else though? I was able to contact Clema and Tashana because they were purposely about working in their purpose. So when they were able to go with me with the event space, calling them, it wasn't like a shock. We've been talking about this. And so in order for us to meet these purposeful actions, what are we doing every day? We're working on our craft, working on our business, working on our mindset. So what actions are you doing for daily habits that are allowing your purpose to show through? Any one of y'all can take over. I don't know about that. Which one of y'all want to chime in?
That's amazing. No, that's amazing. And I think another thing about that is when you talked about the schedule and you talked about working at a job and having that pace and having even managers over, overseeing you, making sure that you're keeping on task and on track. We have to manage our own life. I think it was Serena Williams that said, I am grateful that I get to be disciplined. Not everybody has that skill. So to be able to be disciplined and to be able to stick to your own schedule, you're the one creating it. So make it to what you see fit for your own life. But then also the adverse thing of that is have consequences for not doing those things. Because a lot of times we make our list and we check it twice and some of the things aren't done at the end of the day and we go to sleep and we're like, oh, we'll get to it tomorrow. We'll get to it next week. But what is going to be the consequences for not getting to it? For me personally, one of my consequences is I'm not able to travel as much. So if I don't get my tasks done, I'm not able to travel as much for leisure. A business is a different thing, but understanding the things that you enjoy start to limit some of those things, because if you're in the workforce, you're going to have consequences as well. So being able to have that balance is important.
Oh, I absolutely love this. So, Halima, you're talking about consequences and rewards, and that's something that I did for myself when I transitioned into entrepreneurship, because I was now responsible for my own time. I was now responsible for my own schedule and having to show up for myself. This is what we deal with a lot as I'm working with entrepreneurs, especially women. We deal a lot with, we like to show up for other people and we don't like to show up for ourselves. We feel as though if we show up for other people, then that will fill the hole of not showing up for yourself. But it doesn't. It makes the hole even bigger. It makes the gap even wider. And so the pivotal thing that you said, Coach J, when you started the conversation was, how we show up behind the scenes when nobody is looking is indicative of how we're going to show up when everybody's there, right? And if you're not showing up for yourself behind the scenes, you're going to drop the ball when there's a crowd of 50,000 or a crowd of 100,000. And we think that, oh, when I get the numbers or the money that I will be different. You're not going to be any different. You're going to mismanage the multiple or the millions if you mismanage the little that you have. And so starting with really leading yourself, right? Instead of saying, I'm going to lead other people, I'm going to get other people engaged in my content, engaged in my business, engaged in whatever it is that I'm trying to sell. Are you engaged in you? Do you find yourself interested? Can you be with yourself and like yourself? And a lot of people I find they don't have nothing. Their thoughts are so mundane, it's so basic. And when they start to dive deeper into themselves and find out what makes them unique, why are you called to this thing? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to be a business owner? Why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Some people want to do it because other people say it's fun. And entrepreneurship, we know, the three of us know, it's not fun. It's difficult
all the time.
It will force you to come up to another level. It will force you, especially those times where there is drought and famine, it will force you to dig deep and find another way, right? But you have to be resilient. You have to be consistent. You have to have your mind made up that this is it and I'm not going anywhere else. But a lot of people don't take the time to figure out who they are. They don't take the time to sit back and lead themselves first before they try to go out and lead other people.
You had said something about how that was really good what both you ladies said, but you were saying about how it's hard. So I have a little different perspective only because I started my business when I was 10. So I know entrepreneurship over working a job. So for me, I think it's just second nature, where I just know that for me, I love life as an entrepreneur. So I already know that living life entrepreneurship is way easier than working a job, right? Because when you see certain things wrong in your business, you can just fix it. But when you're at somebody's company, it's a bit more challenging. But there's a scripture in Psalms 119 that says, "Your word is a lamp unto my feet and light to my path." The reason why a daily routine is important, and especially as a person of faith, I don't say as a believer, as a person of faith, because what happened is when you start establishing your plans of the day, like the first thing I want to do in the morning is say, what, God, I thank you for the day. Like, what do you have for me today? Let me be at the right place at the right time. Let me show up. Because what happens is when you become more intentional every day, I feel as though like your prayer life is different as well too. So for example, is like the scripture I just said, like a word is a lamp unto my feet and lights my path. Once you start to spend time with God, spend time with yourself, spend time with something that's rejuvenating you, your path starts to get brighter because you get direct insight about what to do. And a lot of times too is I had a conversation with my friends yesterday. Let me slow down, I'm talking too fast. I had a conversation with one of my friends yesterday, and they were talking about they didn't really know what they wanted to do with life. Like they have all these experiences, but no one's really ever kind of told them what to do. Because there's some people who are told what to do and they're okay with that. And there's some people on this path where sometimes there's no direction. And honestly, you need a mix of it. So once you really start to spend time in your daily routine with like my first thing I want to do is pray. Like this morning I woke up, thank you God for a brand new day. I thank you that my steps are ordered by the Lord. Because I want to make sure today that whatever I do is a tied to intention of my purpose. So once I start to realize that the first thing I'm going to do is the word is a lamp unto my feet, I'm going to literally imply the word because the word will start to light up my path. And there's so often times that we're stuck and don't know what to do or don't know how to do it. And sometimes because we're really creative and talented. We know we're meant to do great things. We know a lot about a lot. But sometimes implementing what first or what gift first is a challenge. So if you start really starting your day off with meditation, with prayer, with even like, I guess like yoga or anything that's going to help you center yourself, you start to get access to the light, and the light leads to the manifestation of what you really need to be in.
That's good.
Let's drop a little gem.
That's real good because some people are in darkness, and they don't have that light. The light does not shine within them or from above. They can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So being able to be grounded and to be centered in something is very important. And to feel that purpose is even more important to what you need to do here on earth.
That's so good. Man, I'm sorry, but I'm stuck on the fact that you said I don't have that perspective because I've been in entrepreneurship longer than I've been in a 9-to-5. Like that's just sitting with me. Yeah. Yes. I'm like, that's it right there. Like people don't realize the longer that you've been in the thing, right? The more, and I hate to use this word, but I'm going to use it, comfortable you get navigating that industry and that field because you understand that it comes with its challenges, right? People who have a 9-to-5 or a corporate job, that comes with its challenges too. But this is why we choose, Halima and myself, to stay connected to you, who you've been in entrepreneurship for 24 years. I saw you posted that the other day or this morning. I guess it's 24 years.
Yeah. And that's crazy because literally so I don't know if you guys saw, but on Instagram I posted, I was cleaning out an old page to make it for our events page. I had followers on there. So I saw this old menu. So I started this when I was 17, before I went to college, but then I kept it going. I would print out my menus, put a little bit of blurb about like what I'm trying to achieve. And I would send out to people. My sister Kim, like I used to do on a Friday. So this is what my schedule. I would do my schedule, Johnson & Wells, Tuesday and Thursday, all day class. Thursday, I would probably have a house party or with my roommates because one was a DJ.
With some banging barbecue chicken, by the way. That's back when I was a meat eater.
And then I would drive home. I would do my order. I would go food shopping for the orders. I would pick them up from my sister Kim, go food shopping that day, prepare my food. And then I was actually working at the Hyatt at one point. So I would go do my gigs, work at the Hyatt at nighttime. Saturday, I would work at this restaurant in Teaneck, and then I would go back Saturday night to the Hyatt, same day on Sunday, and then on Monday, I would work at the Hyatt. I think for me, I was so impressed upon, and I even quit all of them and just started doing my business. I realized I had experiences at both places that were not negative, but they were grooming me to really be in entrepreneurship full time again. And I started to realize, I'm like, listen, if I can do this for somebody else, what can I do for myself? But I know that my purpose was even back then to be intentional. You know, it's like, what am I spending my time on? Like, I had no time for myself. So I said, no, I had to start everything off. And I was doing my menu, selling them. And it's just like, and I look at the price, it was like $10 for a chicken, whatever it was. And I was doing 100 orders a day. So yeah, that was $1,000. But now that was so big for me. Now I realize I wouldn't charge that now, but I had to pay my dues. There's certain things about purpose that you have to pay your dues. I feel as though sometimes we feel like there's not a price tag for the gift, but there is a price tag, because if you originally buy the gift outside at Walmart, at something like that, there's a price tag to it. So I have to realize that what is a price tag attached to accomplishing my goals, getting into my purpose. But you know, you had said something, Natalie, about being connected to me. But I think it's always about creating a supportive environment, because when I talk to both of y'all two, if I talk to both of y'all two, you know, I'm able to get a battery in my back, because sometimes entrepreneurship can be lonely if you don't have a support system. You feel like people don't
stay connected. But I was gonna say, we stay connected to you. You were in it longer than we were, so you see things that we don't see. And I know personally, I make it a habit of showing up for Boss Up Talks, because I get to stay connected to you in this particular area. And this is where you give me access, right? We have access in other areas, but this right here for entrepreneurship gives me access to your mind and the fact that you've been in the game for a long time. So it allows me to see something that I have never seen before. I have never seen someone this up close be an entrepreneur this long. And so making it a habit to stay connected to people who have a different perspective from you is super important, because my perspective is entrepreneurship is so hard. It's so difficult. A job is easier. But your perspective is, no, Natalie, entrepreneurship is much easier than a 9 to 5. So as I'm consistently walking with you and keeping myself open to what you're saying, now my mind is constantly being shifted every single day. But I make it a habit of staying connected to people like you who's been in the game longer than I have. And this is why having a coach is so important and so necessary as you're moving into you're growing your business, because there's always someone who's ahead of you. We keep forgetting that. We love to talk about the people that's behind us, that's waiting for us to show up for our gift and waiting for us to do all the things that we're supposed to do. But there are people who are ahead of us who we can glean from, who we can be in circles with. And you always talk about being with millionaires who can expand our minds by just being in relationship, not even in relationship, by just being in proximity. Just having access to seeing how they move allows us to grow in our businesses.
And I want to turn it over to Lima after I say this one scripture. In Ecclesiastes 4, verse 9 through 10, it talks about 2 are better than 1, because they have a good return for their labor. If either one of them falls down, one can help them up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them. For example, we're doing an event space with 3 of us, right? And I was saying, I wish I had it saved up, so just in case I could have just like paid the money out, right? But I realized the connection about with our culture. Sometimes we feel like Black people don't sit together sometimes, right? But this business is just 3 people who are dedicated, where like, if one person like, can you do this? And it's such a partnership, because we need each other. And that's the big part about purpose too. I'll turn it over to you, Lena.
So you said 2 very good things. One was sometimes it gets lonely in entrepreneurship, right? And another thing you talked about with partnership. So the thing about loneliness, and people say it's lonely at the top, it's lonely where you make it. It can be lonely being poor. It can be lonely being rich. It's lonely where you make it. So wherever you decide to have that energy and to manifest the loneliness and to think that people are acting different because you have a certain thing, no, you're acting different. Yeah. You need to check yourself before you try to check everybody else. And then another thing with partnership, something just popped in my head as you said that. I said, sometimes your purpose is tied up in partnership.
That's good.
We always want to do everything by ourselves, right? And I think the thing that's attached to that is the ego. My grandma says all the time, don't let your ego get the best of you. Don't let your ego get the best of you. Humble yourself, because at the end of the day, you will be humbled. So understanding that your purpose may be tied up in partnership and you don't want to humble yourself enough. You don't want to feel less than to say co-owner. I can probably say co-owner. That's no problem. To understand that you still have ownership, because there's some people that have nothing.
Yeah.
So understanding that sometimes you have to be able to humble yourself and say that you have your strength in social media.
Mm.
I have my strength in customer service and hospitality. So the thing, we come together, we partner. Shonda has her strength in decorating. We come together and we all have a point and we all have a purpose and we can help one another. They say two heads are better than one. You know what I mean? So be able to understand that being together is better than being apart.
Okay. No, but I want to point too, besides that other part about our friendship and our connection, all three of us, you want to cultivate relationships grounded in faith, right? Halima's Muslim, we're both Christian. There's no difference when it comes to talking about faith conversations, right? And I think too, what happens is we do have different beliefs with certain things, but I think what's so big is when you have a partnership built on faith, like with the Tower of Babel in the scripture talks about how they all came together to build this tower that reached in the heavens in their mind. So I feel as though once you start to be connected to somebody in faith, and even to like on a rough day, I can call any one of you guys because iron sharpens iron, as Proverbs 27:17 says. So I know that it's like we're both chefs, and it's nothing worse than a dull knife when you cook, right? The dull knife makes everything difficult to work with. But once you have a knife that is sharpened, it's just like, wow, I can get through stuff easily, work through stuff. So that's why I need someone sometimes to sharpen me up to make sure that, hey, I want to have the best precision in what I'm doing, that sometimes you have to have partnerships through purpose, through faith, that will help you sharpen your integrity, sharpen your excellence. Like, nah, friend, that wasn't your best today. You know, that wasn't it. Like, even if we do a traveling gig, it's so dope because our traveling gigs, I do have a social battery when we do gigs.
And once it's out, it's out.
But it's something to know that you can have somebody with you that can kind of lift up that part. And that's why really building connections through partnership always is beneficial for growth.
Yeah, that partnership piece is so important. As y'all were talking, I thought about that quote where it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, get a partner. I'm sure that's not it, but that's what
It's go together at the end, but it's
okay. But that partnership, like when you said what you said, I wrote down purpose is expressed through partnership. And a lot of us, we want to go alone because it's faster to go alone. It's faster to just, or we think in our mind, it's faster. And this is how I say, you can cover short distances by yourself faster if you're going alone. But if you want to cover long distances, if you want the long term, the longevity in business, right? So if you want to make $1,000 today, you can do that by yourself. But if you want to make $1 million by the end of the decade, you're going to need people with you, to partner with you, to expand your vision and to really fully express your purpose. You can't fully express it by yourself because you're always going to be trying to do all the different pieces, all the different parts. And I think you said this, Halima, you're trying to do everything and have your hand in all the pots that's required in order to build something that is big, build something that lasts a long time, and something that is, that's going to be here, even after you're gone. You're going to need partners to do that thing. You're going to need people that you're going to have to pass the baton on if you're like, I want this business to live beyond the day that I die. So I have to be able to be open to other people coming in and learning everything that's in my mind. They learning it too, so that they can carry this thing on. And we usually are short-sighted when we first come in the game. For those of us that are transitioning from, corporate to entrepreneurship, we're so short-sighted because all we think about is the money right now. We're not thinking about longevity. We're not thinking about the fact that the corporation or the company that we work for started in somebody's basement or started in somebody's living room or garage, right? Amazon started in somebody's garage.
Yeah,
it takes the entire world. You know what I mean? But it started with a man with an idea, and then he brought on other people because he started becoming very clear in how he communicated and expressed his purpose, that the other people said, you know what? My purpose is to connect with your purpose, to expand what it is that you have in your mind. And now every person that is connected to him is eating very well, even the employees, right? Because they get paid quite a couple of dollars an hour. And so we just have to start thinking for long game instead of thinking for that short, like, let me eat today. Because if we postpone eating today, how many more people can eat tomorrow? including us, right? Just thinking about that partnership and purpose being expressed in partnership and not just, by yourself. I really, really like that.
Well, even to Amazon, he created a system where you could be your own entrepreneur by getting your own truck, because the thing, he can't deliver everything.
Yeah.
There are people who they don't want to necessarily work for the company, but they may want to be a partner and share.
Exactly.
And understanding that a portion of something is better than nothing of nothing. It's like you definitely want to, have a partnership. And a little bit of entrepreneur insight is a supportive environment fosters collaboration, innovation, and sustains business growth. So we can grow our business faster and longer and further when we do it together.
Oh yeah. And I think switching gears, what I think is so important, what that post meant to me was you have to reflect on your journey. Like, I love that Facebook, not people my friends anymore, but I like when they bring up past, they bring up new memories. I mean, old memories, right? But for me, the reason why I tell like a lot of my clients and my friends that you have to post, even if you feel like posting, it's like a journal, right? Your social media is like a journal, because it may not be the best content, but you learn how to perfect your skills. So when you see back in the day, when I look at certain cakes I did or food, I'm like, I would never do something like that now. But it became my journey and journal, because it allowed me to really assess my progress to align with my purpose. Like, for example, when I first got to spot in East Orange, I was just doing events all over the place, right? But people started to catch on. So now I started to fine tune exactly what events will go best during Valentine's Day, during September, during October, during November. And it helped me be more intentional. So now that we're opening up another space, I know exactly what to do because I've done it before. It shows me, okay, let me improve my practice, because I want to really be like Lamentations 3 verse 40 says, let us examine our ways and test them and return to the God. So what that says to me is I want to really, let me check my ways. Let me see, I tested them, and then let me go back to the drawing board and say, God, this is what I've done before. Now I want to know, is this what I'm supposed to do? How am I supposed to do it differently? What's the vibe? Because it comes back to a time where if you never reflect on your ways and have that moment to sit with yourself, you don't really know if something's working or not.
Yeah.
Like, having a plan is great. Once you act it out is great. But it's like the SWOT analysis. By doing it repetitiously, you get to know the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. And now I could be a better business purpose, not to make money for the short term, but go the long haul.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. To analyze what you've been doing is the only way you're going to grow, because sometimes I just look back at my experience, even in the event-based world. I bought a course in 2018 from Nehemiah Davis, and being able to have him as a mentor over these years, I had a space in Chicago, and there were 3 floods. So after the first flood, I was like, okay, we got to fix this up. We got to get it together. Second flood, I'm like, okay, got to get it together. We got to patch it up. Third flood, I'm like, okay, God, clearly you're trying to tell me something here. You are trying to tell me something. After the third time, it just reminds me of the man that was stranded in the water, and the boat came and the helicopter came, and it's like, oh no, I'm waiting for God. Oh no, I'm waiting for God. Oh no, I'm waiting for God. God came and came and came and came. And God continuously shows up for us, but you have to be in tune with yourself. God is not going to come in a person that's going to come in front of you and say, some people do hear the voice, but not everybody hears. They have a feeling. And once you are getting those signs and signals, you have to trust yourself enough to move. You have to trust yourself enough to say enough is enough. I'm not going to do that the same way. I'm not going to continue to be around these people. I'm not going to continue to go to these places. I'm not going to continue to run my business in this way. I might have to partner, and that's okay. It's perfectly fine to be able to pivot and to be able to do something different in different environments.
So you just brought up the T word, okay? Which is the reason why. The T word. This is the reason why we have habits and routines in the first place, because we are building credibility with ourselves. We're building trust with ourselves. If we are called to entrepreneurship, we have to know that we are called to entrepreneurship. A lot of people are always like, God gonna do it, God gonna work it out, but then we don't believe that God gonna work it out through us. that God called us to do the thing. And when something happens and we have to make a decision, we don't trust ourselves and we get all stuck in doubt and unbelief and fear. And God can't get through the connection of the doubt and then the unbelief and the fear. It's through faith that he's speaking. And so you have to be like, God, whatever you're trying to tell me in this moment, I'm going to listen, I'm going to hear, and I'm going to move when you tell me to move, because you know what's better for me, right? And just understanding that every decision is a good decision because you're making the decision with God. Every decision that you decide, I'm going to partner with God in this thing, is a good decision, even if it looks like it's crazy on the outside. And you talking about floods, I'm thinking about Noah. For 100 years, Noah's like, I'm building this boat because it's about to rain. And they never saw rain before in their life. And everybody's like, you're an idiot. You're a fool, except for his family. You crazy. Rain? What is that? That's never happened before. Flood? What are you talking about? The whole earth? And he was steady building and creating and crafting for a time that was coming. And so we have to begin to trust ourselves and trust the voice that we are hearing. Because like you said, Halima, God is not going to come down and be, you know, in front of you. If that's happened to you, great. It's never happened to me. It's never happened to anybody that I know. They get a feeling, they get a knowing, they hear something in their spirit and they move with that. Even in entrepreneurship, the definition is a risk taker. You have to take risks. And when you take a risk, there is, with a risk, there is some type of danger that may be around. There's something that would say, oh my gosh, don't do this. Stay safe. Don't go out here. Stay in this comfort zone. You have to be able to, as an entrepreneur, change your mind and start taking risks, because that's where you're going to see the biggest payoff, when you start taking those risks and you start jumping out on faith. Fear and doubt is always going to keep you shrinking and keep you pulling back on what you know to be true. But you got to start back to the habits and the routines. Those habits and the routines that you're setting for yourself are helping you build trust and credibility with yourself first.
And I think so. What's up, Mr. Kimball? He was one of the teachers. I was in high school and he just said, don't despise small beginnings, right? My mom will always say that when things were not looking good. I think when my mom started to say that, that's when I feel like she would believe me, but that's when I feel like she really got it. She really saw what I was doing. And I felt like she was the most proud at that moment, because she's wanted me to keep going, because I had an event that nobody came to before. I spent so much money at that time, but it taught me how to pivot, and I think when you don't despise small beginnings, you learn how to trust the voice of God faster. Because when you're despising small beginnings, like, well, why is this not happening? Why is this? When you hear that small, still voice saying, it's going to work out, maybe try it this way. But when everyone around you or failure seems so loud around you, you never hear the successful part of the failure part, that you're really not even failing. It just looks that way. But it's like going to the eye doctor, like we say all the time, you got to change your perspective. The eye doctor always says, is this better? Is this better? Because you want to make sure that your viewpoint is accurate, because sometimes, like I love when we fly in a plane, and so the area seems so big when you're on the ground. Once you fly up above the city, everything seems so small, and was once big was now small. So when you're really accomplishing certain things, there are goals that seem so big, like literally, and this is crazy. When I called Talima, we were talking about this today, and I called about this event space, and I'm like, yo, fam, you up?
I was asleep, y'all.
And she was asleep, and I'm like, how soon can you get $11,000?
No. Let's be clear. You said, do you have access to $11,000? It's 7:00 in the morning. I said, no. No. Can you get it? No. Are you still asleep? Yeah. Do you want to go back to sleep? Yeah. I'm like, okay.
But you called back because you said, I know you didn't call somebody else.
But before I called back, I checked my account and I had $343 in it. I checked the other account. I had $15.30. So I said, where the heck am I going to get $11,000 from? But as you talked about preparation, I had been doing things, building up business credit. I had been cleaning up my personal credit. I had been doing things in preparation. I didn't know what for, but I knew that something was coming. You spoke last week about the waiting room.
Yeah.
And that has been on my spirit since last week because I tune in. B.O.S.S talking my thing. the waiting room is very important, but don't just sit there. Do something while you're in that waiting room. Get something accomplished while you're in that waiting room, because you need to, when you get to the next space, you have a report that you need to talk about. You have something that you need to do in that next room. So needless to say, 2.5 weeks later, the 11K is done.
And it's crazy because so I was actually in another space at the beginning of the summer, and it was saying it was like 8,000. It was a lot of work. So I'm like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna do the other work, but let me get the spot. There was so much opposition with getting the other spot that literally, I think it might have been less than a week later, I found this other spot that is 2 spaces. We could do double the money, but I didn't know how I was getting 32. So I said, listen, let me call my friends up, because I know that once again, we're connected to purpose and faith. So now that's the connection and collaboration part, I know there's somebody in my Palm Pilot, my phone, that I can call that either has the money or that wants to do the business with me. And so literally to it's a blessing to the fact that really, like, in 2 weeks or 2.5, we came with the $32,000, right? And it's just like me, I don't have an income no more because I don't have no job. I'm really just doing my business. So the fact that I called my other friend, she was like, I don't know, but I'm gonna find a way. Because the thing about it is, when we all want something, right? Yeah. And we're all connected to faith and purpose, our purpose are aligned. We're at the right time, at the right place, doing the right thing, that the right opportunity came up and we were able to move in purpose. What happens is, when you never take time to sit in purpose, when you never take time to, when you stop like despising the small things that happen, the people that may have hurt you, because there's been so many opportunities I've had where people have done me dirty.
Yeah, you get resentful sometimes.
And sometimes it's like, it's not gonna happen. When is it my turn? But I realize is, even with Natalie's coaching, like her to go from us waiting on the bus stop in Jersey City, not having it being cold outside, splitting some money to buy some doggone chicken from Crowns, to now that we're like coaching and we're doing so many things, that it took that from not having a vehicle, us sharing a bucket of chicken, at Crowns, talking about these things that we wanted to do, and to see the manifestation start to happen. This is going over 20 years later, because I met Natalie when I first started my business. So this is talking about 24 years later, and just to see the manifestation that came out, because we became intentional about our goal. We became focused. We became very lean. I did a podcast with Randy and Wanda Webb. It's really dope. You should check that out too, with the cooking website. And they had talked about how they shared as a couple one phone and one car, to the point where she even stayed longer breastfeeding because she couldn't afford the formula, because they wanted to buy rental properties. It comes, how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
Do you really want what you're saying you want? Are you willing to sometimes be uncomfortable? Are you willing to let your ego down? Are you looking to become a team to partner? Because sometimes team is the partnership. Like, there's such a blessing in community. There's a blessing in finding people that will pray for you, that will believe you, that support you. Me and he was on the phone. Like, we had checked, like sometimes we'll be like, hey, you good? What's up?
Yeah.
Because we know that partnership is real. It's me and what's your name? Natalie. Sorry, if it's us two talking about something, it's like, okay, so what's going on with you? Like, how's that going?
Yeah.
Because those are growing pains, a part of business. Because like, we see all these millionaire coaches and businesses, and that we're around them, and we see them talk about their experience, but to be behind the scenes, and we're getting to that point, and we're seeing the real struggles of it. My thing is, like, for coaches I've been around, God, let me learn from them to be a better coach for myself, to know what I need to improve on. Like, sometimes I'll fly to cook to somebody just to get mentorship. It's like, how bad do you want it? Do you really believe the goals and dreams that you say you believe? Like, what's the action behind what you believe? Because if my words say it, my word is my bond, my action is going to immediately line up with that. Because like we said, that waiting room, you'll wait in that waiting room, but it's up to you to get out of that waiting room. Like, what are you preparing yourself? God is preparing a table for you, but he's preparing it. But what does that mean about you? What are you doing while he's preparing a table in front of you, in front of your enemies? Like, what are you doing? So when you show up to the table, can you work on this? What do you want to do with this? Like, even too, we always have apparel on. Like, last week I had apparel. This week we got different apparel. Like, what are you doing to really promote your brand? Because once it hits off and the light shines on you, that lamp and light into your path, and God gives you the opportunity, will you be ready to jump to it? Or will you be like, oh man, I wish I would have did this. No,
Or
jump
you be
on it.
asleep talking about something. I'm gonna call you back.
I know, right?
You gotta be ready. You gotta be ready. No, that's good. That's really, really good.
That's definitely good. And I love that you had the faith. You said when I first looked at it, it was $343, but I got the 11,000. Like that's the language difference, right? And even when you're saying, you two were talking about what are you doing in the waiting room and how that process of developing a process in the waiting room, how that is so helpful when you come out of the waiting room and you have to actually do the things that you've been waiting to do, right? You already have the process developed. You already have the habits and the routines. You're already making up the bed. You're already, the landing page is already set up so that you can collect the money that's coming in, that's pouring in. All of those things are set while you're in the waiting room, while you're waiting on the person to say next. And you're like, that's me. Let's move forward. Like all of that is so necessary, but when we don't despise the waiting room, when we look at it as God has given me more time to prepare, when we get excited in the waiting room, you have no idea who's looking at you. You have no idea who's waiting for you. You have no idea how your attitude and your demeanor is impacting those other people who are in the waiting room with you. It's so funny that I just said that because when I first started my business, there were other people that started their businesses with me at the same time. And just being on Clubhouse, sharing my experience and talking, and, we were in coaching programs together. They end up leaving the coaching program and becoming my clients and my students in my program. And my first mindset was, what do I have to offer? We're on the same level, right? Because we think level means that we're doing the same thing. So why would she come and put herself under me? And it has nothing to do with that. I think you talked about it earlier, Halil, when I put it in the chat. Humility is required when you're walking in purpose. And a lot of people love to put the ego, because the ego can boost you for a little while. The ego can give you a false sense of confidence, make you feel like you're bigger than you are. But that humility is what's going to actually draw people in. Like when you know you are the answer, when you know you are the solution, and you humbly express that in your content, in the way that you talk, people are going to not just be drawn to you, but they're going to stay with you. Because I've seen so many people draw and attract with that prideful, ego, boastful, big thing, but then they're not able to hold, they're not able to contain, they're not able to walk and guide people along the way for a long time. They just it's like a revolving door. You just come in, oh, it's really not like this, and go on out, right? But having humility is required when you are in the waiting room, because you're always thinking, who else is in this waiting room with me? I'm not here by myself. I'm not the only one that's struggling. I'm not the only one that needs assistance. I'm not here alone. Like Halima said, you could be lonely if you decide to be lonely, but we're not alone. There are other people that are going through just the same thing as us, and us being willing to look into the waiting room and say, this is time for me to prepare. This is time for me to encourage those who are in the waiting room with me. This is time for me to do the things that is necessary, because I'm going to be next. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm next.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I went to a conference by one of my mentors, Dr. Stacia Pierce, and I love her immensely. And she said, you're waiting to have these 100K days, but you don't have a bank account to fit that. There is something that I learned from like Dr. Jewel and trading with cryptocurrency. This, like, we've been over the last few years and just doing different things. You don't even have enough accounts that can hold what God wants to get to you.
Yeah.
So about that waiting room too, do some, like, even one of my students, I always get on them, like, y'all 17, you need to have a bank account. That's the first thing I say to them, get a bank account. You have up to 3 checks with me 3 times working to get a bank account, because I want you to realize that this is a part of growing up. A part about a business is get an LLC. Stop doing stuff raggedy. Get your LLC. Learn about taxes. Learn about how to do this, because you can't expect to grow in your selected career path if you don't even know what to do. And if you can't do it, get somebody to help you. Like, there's something about, and when she told me that part, I opened up, like, I had bank accounts, but I opened up a few more. Mm-hmm. I started opening up crypto accounts. I started putting money on Cash App. I started putting money on Albert. And Albert is this app that takes money out of my account once a week. There's something I realized, I got 700. I didn't even realize they took that much out of there. But what happened is, even PayPal, you can start buying crypto and investment with there. You want to be so intentional about really your goal that you start putting stuff away. even too, they have so many free e-courses. Take the e-course.
Yeah.
Google had did a certification program at the beginning of the year to get certified with something with technology. And you can put that on your resume. I'm certified in this with Google, because next, I had an interview at this school that, can't get away from it, teaching. And it was something I had on my resume that talked about hospitality. And they said, "Oh, you teach hospitality too?" And I said, "Yeah, I taught both." So they said, "Oh, next year we're looking to expand our program. So would you be willing to teach culinary and hospitality?" Of course, I don't mind teaching it, because when you're positioning yourself in purpose, you start to add to your repertoire. So when you need it to come out, it's easy to come out. Like, for example, Halima has been managing event spaces, and the fact that she's managed event spaces, I'm with food, Tashana's with decor. We've never really been in a place to bring everything together, because it's always been about your business, my business. We may collab, but Halima has brought up packages, right? But I think it's been kind of like not a struggle, but like for me, like to understand, like I understand packaging, but like how do we really make it a thing where we know what to offer, right? That's the biggest thing. But I think when you let your ego drop down and learn how to be coachable, because one thing I learned about Halima, when she said, "Oh, okay," like I just know that she'll let me.
That's some of my secrets.
But she'll let me, like, kind of, she'll say something about it, but she'll also let me get to myself, because as friends, we all know that sometimes our friends are not ready to receive certain things, or they may not fully understand it until they get the aha moment. You have to realize certain spaces is you have to give yourself grace to have the aha moment, because there's some things you don't understand. You can hear stuff several times, but then even with Shopify, like I was not against it, but I'm like, no, I'm good with my system, because somebody told me about it, but they didn't really clearly explain it. But once my mentor has spoke to me and told me the benefits of it, I got it right away. So there are certain things you have to give yourself grace on. But once again, the Bible means if any man wants wisdom, let him ask of it. So for me, if I don't understand something, my first thing is to not be, I know it all, because my mom's a librarian. So we always had to read growing up. It was never a thing we couldn't read. So the thing about that, always reading stuff and getting knowledge and understanding, it's like I've learned to pressure myself to seek for understanding, to learn about something. Like we know a lot about a lot, right? Because we read stuff, we meet different people, we're able to talk to different spaces. But the more you learn, the more it's like a sponge. Like once you get that sponge filled up with soap and water, it becomes full. So when it's time to squeeze out of what you need with that anointing, that gift, or that voice, you'll be in a room ready to squeeze out. Oh, you need this? I got the source to this. But also when you're in a room, you realize that sometimes you got to be filled up, because there are things without purpose that we don't know about, or we don't have clarity. But we're in the room and we allow ourselves not to be the know-it-all of the room. I learned to also be a student, because as I'm a student, I feel like God will give you drops of stuff that you need to hear. Not now use it, but you'll hear it. So once it's time to squeeze out, I can squeeze it out right here. I like, even with him talk about the business credit, she was able to squeeze that money out of what we needed, because now I know that I have a spiritual bank account that's on the side of me that my natural may not be able to pay for this thing, but my spiritual side will come in and supply the need, because God has already equipped you with all spiritual things. He equipped you with everything you need in life. But sometimes we don't tap into that. And once you start to tap into that, you'll start to see God manifest stuff in your life that you never thought. Like we talked about, we want to be a millionaire and make this amount of money, but we never really saw it for ourselves and seeing that this is the way. Now, the fact that we have a thing that with this whole event space that it can bring in 100K a month, we see it, how the million can happen. So we know how we can collab and do stuff in events. Now with coaching, her coaching has expanded so much that she's probably passing the 5-figure months, and now she's able to do 5-figure days, because she sees it. Because once you show me something, I can't take it back. Now I see it. Once I start mastering it, and that's where you have to get to the point with your purpose and your goal, that you see it being tangible, you feel it, you start to see it. Even the Clarksons talk about the sky is the limit to what I can have, because once I start to see it, once I start to experience it, you can't tell me what I've seen that it won't happen for me.
Yeah, because it's possible. And can I just say one thing?
Okay,
you said something so powerful, right? You said about in the rooms, people around you watching you and seeing what you're doing. You think that you're on the same level with them, but they come and they get under your tutelage and they learn from you. Because sometimes we're in Rome just because we paid for them. That does not mean that we are supposed to be in said room. But sometimes we're in those rooms, and I'm not saying don't pay to be in the room. Get in the room, but then take what you need from the room. And what you might need is somebody else in the room to be able to break down the information a little bit further. So your teaching style and the way that you broke down information might have resonated with those people, that they weren't ready for that high level that the person that was speaking or having the course was talking about, but you were able to come in and you were able to tell them something that resonated with them. So they wanted you as their mentor. They wanted you as their coach. And Josh said another good thing about him not understanding something the first time, but then going back and asking for clarification.
Yeah.
Sometimes we cannot humble ourselves. He's been in business for 24 years. For him to say, I didn't really understand the whole package thing, but I wanted to understand it. So I'm going to ask for more clarification. I need some more clarification on what you're saying so that I can incorporate it in what you're saying, understand it in a way that I understand it, and letting the ego go and understand that we all have our strengths. And you, like you said, when you see something, you can't unsee it. So understanding that you haven't seen everything there is to see. So if somebody else has seen it, they can tell you. Mm-hmm. They can share their experience with you. And you might not have seen it for your own eyes, but just like when you're reading a book, you can imagine what's going on. You can imagine it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There's so much going on in me right now. Like, y'all are like, psh, I'm making it quick, Josh. One thing you said, I have to see it before I see it. And I have to see it in my mind, in my imagination. This is why you have that imagination. And I have to see it before I see it. And when you position yourself around a community that is further along than you, they get to give you a glimpse into your imagination so that you could see yourself in that position as well. And I love that, Halima, you said sometimes we only are in the room because we pay to be there. And some people have to recognize that, like, ooh, I paid to be here, and this is why I'm here. And this is why I keep telling my clients, I'm like, money is the lowest form of wealth, period. Right? And you think that your money is going to be able to buy everything, but that's not true. There was, I got 3 landing pages done, and I was just telling a client of mine, I said, I got this done because I have access. She did it first, and she sent me, and I was like, why'd you do that? And then she showed me how to do it real quick, and I was like, I got access, right? I paid $1,500 to get a website done that couldn't do what I'm doing for free right now because I was put in a bad spot, so to speak, that forced me to figure out another way. But when I had money, I paid for average. I paid for trash, basically. But the lack of the finances forced me to go higher, to go deeper first and then go higher. And this is what the waiting room is designed for us to do. It forces us. That part, it forces us to go deeper. It forces us to become bigger. It forces us to increase our capacity for more. And how we know that we have capacity for more? Because we move quickly. You said one last thing you said, it's great to have all the wisdom. My mom's a librarian. We have access to all these books. But if I don't implement any of the things that I learned, I will be in the same predicament as the person that does not know anything. I'll be in the same predicament. I have the same bank account as someone who's ignorant. I'll have the same bank account as someone who is poor, that don't believe in themselves. If I don't utilize the information that I'm receiving and take swift action. The reason why people are growing and moving and expanding and receiving as much as they are, because they're hearing and they're being obedient and they're moving. A lot of us need to just make a move, and you're going to make money.
That's good. And just one more topic we'll touch on before we go to like our weekly practical steps is the last thing is celebrate your success and your next steps. Something we started in our group chat with me, Halima, Tashonda. We've always done this, but I think in the last few, we've been talking every day about how grateful we are to work with each other, to partner, to be excited. Because what happens sometimes when you're going through things, if you never stop to celebrate it, I get in awe about how much God, like I was watching Purposeful today, my pastor, and he was talking about how, I was trying to write down too. He was talking about love, right? And it's hard to manifest things when you know that you're loved, when you don't know that God loves you, when you know that you're the apple of his eye. It's very hard sometimes to see things happening because you operate from a different place when you know that you're loved. Like when I even do things with you guys, I know that y'all love me as your friend. So I know that you guys are giving me great advice because you guys believe in me, right? So when you start to go to level of elevating, you have to celebrate your success and just be grateful. Like I'm grateful to have friends that I can work with and not feel like they're gonna I'm opening something, gonna open this around the corner, or if I'm doing this, they're gonna do this. Like let me keep myself quiet because I don't want my friends to bite off me. That's not your friend.
Yeah.
Right. That's the first thing. It's not your friend. That's not your bro. That's not your sister. That's not your colleague. That's not your whatever it is. So once you get a place where you learn how to celebrate, and I can share stuff with my friends because they'll give me the missing ingredient. I'll send a flyer to my friends. Hey, what do you think this need? They'll give me the missing ingredients, like us being the chef. When me and Halima doing the gigs, can you taste this? How does this feel? Like, because now we can verify that we trust your instinct. We know we can work together, but celebrate success. Be mindful of who your friends are. If your friends are not celebrating you, they're not your friends.
Yeah.
If they're not posting your stuff, and I hate to say, like, you can post what you want, but it's just like, I'm about, let me share my friend. Even doing the same thing as me. You don't do it like me, so I'm gonna still celebrate you because we're friends. To celebrate success and to the next step. And then it has an ad before I go to the next part.
I do have something to add because we talked about the scheduling, we talked about the consequences, but we rarely talk about the celebrating the success. Mm-hmm. A lot of times people say, don't get comfortable. But Natalie said something very important, that you're comfortable with entrepreneurship. That has become a level of comfort with you. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we do have to get comfortable, like getting uncomfortable, being comfortable with getting uncomfortable and getting into different places and things like that. But when we do something good, reward yourself, give yourself a pat on the back and talk about it. It's okay. You're not being boastful. You're not, trying to brag on yourself, but you are looking at your accomplishment and you're proud of yourself. And it's okay to be proud of yourself because we're so hard on ourselves. So just be as equally proud. And another thing about celebrating your successes and your friends and the circle you surround yourself with. My friend from high school, she lives in Florida now, and she posted the space. And so I said, thank you. Everybody that's been posting the space, I say, thank you. I go into their inbox and I appreciate them. And she said, I'm going to post it at least like twice a week. Whatever you post, I'm just going to post it like at least like twice a week. And none of my friends have said that, not that they feel obligated to, or they post it as I put it, but she's going to make a conscious effort to be able to do that. And I appreciate it. People will celebrate you and you have to let them do that. And you have to be around people that are willing to do that as well.
Yeah, that's good. That's real good. You got anything to add? You know what, Natalie, can I say something too about something that you had said about, we talked about, I won't say the friend name, but I had to think about the situation first, not the name. You were telling there's some people who will keep signing up for program after program after program, but do nothing. We know somebody that signed up for a program that you was in, and they've done nothing with it. There are people who are habitual signer-ups for stuff and don't do anything, right? So the thing about purpose is you have to move. Like there's someone I met at an event with a business coach. They came to my event and they still haven't done anything in the last 2 years. And it's not a dig to that, but after a while, you're going to get left if you don't hop on a train with something.
You're going to, like Natalie said, you have to move.
And then you look up and you realize that, man, they doing this, they doing this. And then next year you start to be jealous and resent them versus let me celebrate the person that I should be celebrating. So never get caught up in a way where you're resenting people because you chose not to step up to the plate.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so going inside weekly practice, we had like 57 minutes today. So a few things, 5 steps to weekly practical steps is the first thing, establish morning routines, not just daily, but morning routines. Start your day with activities that align with your purpose, even if it's a game on your phone that helps you articulate better or to move faster. Like even like a game on your phone may help because it helps you move faster, to think faster, like a numbers game. You can pray, you can meditate, do yoga, like whatever it is you got to do, find out what works for you. Second thing is set daily intentions. Define what you're aiming to accomplish each day. So what am I, like our Vanessa, Lady Vanessa from Philly, she's in Phoenix now. I love that what she does, she always does a few things she can definitely do. So if it's just 5, forget 5, you can use 3 goals a day. One may be make up your bed. That's one goal you can accomplish. So find 3 goals, maybe something simple, but one more challenging that you want to do every single day. Define those goals. What does it look like? But also know what does it do to your overall purpose? right? Number 3 is incorporate reflective time. Allocate time for daily reflection on your purpose. It may just be 2 minutes a day. Find time to reflect on your purpose and realize that how does my daily interactions add to this? And also check your bank account, because you want to make sure that your bank account is aligned with your purpose. Are you overspending? Are you overeating? Like, are you spending money too much on Starbucks? Like, is your purpose aligning with your daily actions? 4th thing is create a supportive space. Design your environment to support your purpose. Even it may be a small corner in your room that's designed to your purpose. It may be the park. It may be whatever it is. Fine. It may be your car. Find a space that's designed to really support your space. And the last one is celebrate your achievements. Recognize and establish your successes and new goals. You may want to do a goal chart, a goal sheet, a notebook. You might have to take yourself out to a certain place. Once you achieve that goal, do something that helps you celebrate and recognize your goal. For me, that's travel. I know that might be something for Lima. She said that's like her not reward.
It's a consequence because I love it so much. So.
It's always been my reward. So I'm like, nah, I gotta go on a trip. So find those things that's working for you. And if you're looking for coaching, reach out to us. If you're looking to put in the event space, reach out to us. So whatever you're looking to do, reach out. Remember, closed mouths don't get fed. Like and share this post and this feed, because we know that what we said today could touch somebody else. Somebody to hear it, send it out, because we're about having purpose through clarity every single day of our life, because we want every day to be the best day of our life.
Yes.
You got anything else to add?
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really do appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah, come back anytime, Halima. It was fun.
Yeah.
Anything to add? You got anything with new coaching things coming out? Did your coaching start? Did your coaching start already?
It hasn't started yet, but if you want to learn more about it, just go to biginbusinessandlife.com.
Not her dropping the website down. Say it one more time.
Big in business.
Life.com, because I help Christian women entrepreneurs win big in business and life.
Oh, I love
Not the
it.
tagline.
I love it.
We ain't talking about that last week.
Oh, it's an upgrade.
She can work it.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful week on purpose.
Have a good one.